Well, Jim, Kevin Dunn used to produce a show called Monday Night Raw. I don't know how much of this you saw or how much we have to talk about, but the big thing everyone's talking about, the return of The Rock. It was billed as a former WWE champion will be returning. Jinder Mahal came out, did a very interesting promo. He was good for what he said, although I think timing and place, it seemed a little bit ridiculous. And then it led to the return of Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. And we could talk about the segment, but did you watch more Raw than that, or are we just talking about this?
No, I just got a soupçon, just a mere steak tartare of Raw. And of course, there was another thing that made news there that I'm going to reference that I did watch the clip of this. Poor old, goddamn, what's his real name now? I get Da Vinci.
Da Vinci
of Imperium. They had to stop a match, and I know everybody was praising the referee, and he did a good job there for what they tell him to do. But did you happen to see that, or should I describe it for you and everybody at the same time?
You know what? I was kind of in the middle of other things, but I had it on the background, and I looked up, and I was like, wait, what the fuck's happening? And I rewound it and watched it again, so I did see it.
Well, here is...
Because normally I wouldn't pay attention to this match, I'm sorry to say.
Well, and you know, you wouldn't be alone. It was Jey Uso and somebody, I can't remember, against...
Kofi Kingston.
Against Da Vinci and Marcel Marceau, or whatever his partner's name is. And they did a spot where as Da Vinci was going to jump, and did jump off the turnbuckles in kind of a jump up and turn around thing, like he's going to cross body or do something to Kofi jumps up and drop kicks him. And boom, down goes Da Vinci and stays there. It wasn't the drop kick. It was the, if you watch it back, he's reversing his momentum. He's going forward into the drop kick, and then suddenly he's got to go backwards from the drop kick. And he whiplashed the back of his head down on the mat, and apparently instantly knew, well, I'm not going to get up. And apparently the referee saw what the guy's face looked like, and you saw they got a close-up of Jey Uso on this move, and Jey Uso's face, like, oh, shit. So apparently they could tell that he rung his bell on the mat, and the referee went right over there and was down, and everybody was selling, and he was talking to the guy, and he did the X sign. And they had literally just come back from a break like 10 seconds before this, because the match was in progress for a while. They come back from a break into that spot, down, boom, and they're there. And so I think the babyface Kofi rolled over and tagged Jey, I believe, and just at that point, the referee called for the bell and stopped the whole thing. I don't know who was supposed to win. I assume the babyfaces, so they did win anyway. I don't know how much longer they had to go, but they knew The Rock was coming up. I'm sure he could pad the time. And so, but at the same time, it was kind of an expose, because you've never seen two guys more unhappy about winning a match than the babyfaces that won the match. You can almost see them like cussing, like, well, fuck, this is bullshit. It stopped our match. They don't know how to react when shit happens. It's not supposed to happen. It was even more obvious that this is a complete fuck up, that Uso and Kofi are standing there going, well, shit. And they didn't raise their hands. They didn't try to get the people involved in cheering for them to not feel bad about this guy laying there with his bell rung. And then after they stopped the match, once the doctor had checked Da Vinci, you saw him in the camera shot walking back, holding his head, but walking down the side of the ring under his own power. So that was flat too. They've got to be able to improvise when shit happens. I'm not saying to let anybody work when they're injured, right? I'm not saying get the guy back up, fuck the brain damage. I'm saying everybody else still has to play their part enough to think that what would this be like if this was happening, but it was a shoot. If it was a shoot, the babyface would want to go back in for the cover, but the referee would wave it off, call for the bell. What? The babyfaces realize we won. Hey, we won. Yeah, fuck you. You were trying to fuck us up. And then the partner could come in and he could take a couple of fucking bumps as they're tending to the injured guy on the side. The partner could come in and improvise, go over and spin a baby face around, slap him in the face, boom, let bang, 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 shoot off, backdrop, whatever the fuck, to get the people thinking about something else besides this guy got brain damage or not. Make it a little bit more exciting, not make the baby faces look like just putzes, and not cast a cloud over everything, because yeah, it's phony bullshit and that guy's really hurt. Does any of that make any sense?
Again, it all happened on the fly. They reacted on the fly, but you would think
everything happens on the fly.
You would think they could have done something where you still had one competitor who was standing and two others. You could have done something so that it wasn't just, all right, let's all go back to the locker room now.
Yeah, just it's over. And again,
referee stoppage was the official announcement.
Yes, referee stoppage, and the people who won the match were upset about it because it wasn't what they had planned to do. But everything happens on the fly. What my first year watching wrestling live at the Gardens, I saw a guy break his leg, and they were supposed to win. So the guy with the broken leg, the baby faces, and his partner had to figure out a way where before he could get out of the ring, so they could tend to that leg that was flopping around, he had to win. So he won. Crazy Luke Graham hit Tommy Gilbert in the fucking throat with the taped thumb, and he fell backwards over the guy with the broken leg. 1, 2, 3. Now get me to the hospital.
Sounds like a regular Kota Ibushi over there.
Well, things happen on the fly.
What do you think about this, though, considering this comes on the heels of Tony Khan's comments about being the safest company in the world to work for, their track record on safety? We'll play the exact quote later on. The question about concussions, Moxley brought it up previously after he was concussed and then worked a long match and got pile-driven twice. I can't even say it without laughing. It's so ridiculous. But that match happened. That match kept going. This match literally instantly stopped. A lot of it's about the referee and what they're thinking, what they're being communicated, or what's being communicated to them, I should say. What do you think about this just in terms of the general sea of change, I guess, around concussion protocol?
Well, it ain't ballet, and things happen. And especially in a big money match, there's the effort for everybody involved to work through it to get as close as you can to what you were supposed to get, right? And in other times, it's a goddamn cold TV match. Just stop the fucking thing right there, and everybody should know how to react and work around it where it doesn't look like a big expose. But here, the more important point that nobody has brought up is this. I'm not talking about making hurt people work or stopping it too soon when it's a minor injury that could be sorted out later or anything in between. Did you see the drop kick and the bump?
Yeah, because they replayed it, so I did see it.
How'd it look to you?
Which part? The idea that was the move they decided to do? It seemed like it was a bad idea to begin with, and then the drop kick seemed like it pushed him back?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're calling, what happened, but how did it look as far as, of all of the wrestling that we've watched in the last 2 weeks, what was going to be the move that a motherfucker wasn't going to get up from? Where would that have ranked on that list?
Pretty low.
Pretty low. Because it can happen. And that's where the idea of taking a plausible bump and selling it came from. You didn't have to be thrown off the roof because everybody knows, kind of, as they reach adulthood, that if you get your head hit the right way, or if you take a bump over the top rope like Buddy Rogers, get your foot stuck in a water bucket, or some freak thing, it doesn't have to look like that a human body would be burst into goddamn 1,000,000 pieces for somebody to be incapacitated. This was an innocuous looking bump, as bumps go in wrestling these days. But he hit his head. And so therein lies the lesson. You don't have to do a shooting star press off the top rope through a table wrapped in barbed wire sitting on a concrete floor and then get up and limp for 10 seconds when you can take any kind of a bump if you build to it right and you do it right and it looks good enough. You can sell it as believable that you were hurt. So this was one of the pissiest looking bumps on the whole show. But it was the one the guy couldn't get up from, which is, as long as you tell that story in wrestling all the time, it can happen anytime in any way. Somebody can, 3 seconds is all it takes to get pinned. One bump is all it takes on your head to get knocked out, whatever the case. Then you don't have to fucking mutilate yourself over and over every goddamn day. And if this shouldn't be a lesson, I can't imagine what that was, again, on the list of dangerous bumps, number 984 on a list of 1,000, but it's the one that knocked him goofy. So why don't they concentrate on selling these type of things more instead of not selling shit that looks like that you would kill any normal fucking human? It doesn't make sense, does it?
It's like the disconnect if you think back to the 80s. Ricky Morton's strong suit was his selling. He was great at everything.
Right.
But it was his selling. Remember when Rock and Roll Express got booked in All Japan? Ricky Morton's a great wrestler.
Yes.
Robert Gibson's a great wrestler. Or, really good. Well, Ricky's great. I don't want to put Robert down, but Ricky was great.
Robert stands in the shadow of and that's why, but Robert, especially in his younger days, and a wonderful teacher as well, but go ahead.
And a physical guy. Everyone always talks about what a tough guy was. Their success was their ability to manipulate the fans and get the fans emotional around Ricky's selling.
Get the sympathy, be a snazzy, well-versed tag team combination of two young, good-looking guys with some snazzy moves, and then one of them is isolated and is beaten half to death, and the other one desperately tries to get the tag. And then finally, when that happens, through some type of Hail Mary, they either come out victorious and slide out of the ring with the heels wondering what happened, or they get the shit kicked out of them and swear to come back and get even. That's the formula.
And Ricky Morton can, during that match, get punched, shoved, shoulder tackled, and he could fly across the ring and he could sell something.
Yes, I've seen him take 3 bumps for 1 punch, and it didn't look phony.
They went to All Japan and were getting hit. It's not a shoot, but all of a sudden you don't have to take a bump. You're going to take a bump. You're about to be run over. And it was a completely different style. And I like All Japan and I like Japanese wrestling, especially from the 80s and 90s, but it wasn't the right fit. That was the difference between American style and Japanese style. Unfortunately, that Japanese style, whether it was the men's or the women's wrestling, has kind of infiltrated America, even though there really wasn't a big fan demand for it.
And now they're finding out that the same thing applies in reverse. It don't work the other way either. Ricky and Robert were selling fucking buildings out across the country with that formula. Didn't fucking work in Japan. They couldn't grasp it because that wasn't their culture over there and the style that they were used to. And now, because the American wrestlers became fans of what they were doing over there, they try to bring it over here, and it don't work either. The other way around. People want to see an underdog. They want to see a baby face. They want to see a fucking struggle. They want to see all the emotions of these. They want a reason to watch the fight. Why are they mad at each other?
They want their wrestler not to be injured so they can see him.
Yes, they want all those things. And that's why that what works here don't work yon, and what works yon don't work here.
That's one of the big problems. America got away from what made American wrestling work for America. And now it's just kind of what the most hardcore wrestling fans want American wrestling to be.
America didn't get away from it. The American wrestlers got away from it, and then the American fans said, "What the fuck are they doing? We used to like this shit."